GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington, and welcome to GWATA TV. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasatian, and I'm excited to spend the next half an hour with you. On GWATA TV, we feature different guests to talk about entrepreneurship, technology, or STEM education. This season, we've been focused on workforce of the future and broadband, exploring topics around entrepreneurship and students in the context of both of these areas. Today's episode is going to take us on two different topic routes. We're going to talk to Augustedge, really specifically about their real estate and professional service offerings for entrepreneurs. And then we're going to talk with SGL Carbon, a manufacturer that's based out in Moses Lake, and what they're doing to support career-connected learning in the region. Stay tuned. I'll be back with our first guest right after this commercial break. Welcome back to GWATA TV. I'd like to introduce our first guest for today's episode, Lane Etheridge from Augustedge. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
So exciting to have you on air. This is our first time meeting, so it's been great to, off camera, get to know you a little bit. You're a real estate broker with Augustedge.
Correct.
But before we go into kind of your passion and work at Augustedge, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, background is kind of diverse in the sense that family business from the time I was 5 years old until 2000. That's when I left the family business. That was private contractors for Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. So I went all over the United States, all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana, picking up railroad ties. The railroad ties you buy at Home Depot or whatever. At one point in time, in all 5 western states, we would have handled that railroad tie you bought because we had no competition in that business. So through that is a lot of heavy equipment operation in a very different atmosphere than your standard digging a foundation, which came later in life. I didn't know, but yeah.
So traveling all across the U.S. As a contractor on the railroad, how do you make that transition then into real estate? What attracted you into real estate?
Well, it's kind of crazy, like it happens in everybody's life, I think. You don't know what your path is, so to speak. Through the heavy railroad excavations, the company that we had, I ran equipment like everything you can imagine. I was very blessed, and the family let me rent equipment all the time for different projects. Ended up being that some of those projects were taking out railroads completely and making them into trails. Well, that's a real estate transaction because somebody owns it and somebody owns property on both sides of it. And sometimes it goes back to the people that originally had it. Sometimes there's fights over it. So I started getting a little interested in how does real estate work when you own just a little strip, So that's kind of how it got started in that sense of it. But with running the equipment, when I left the family business, I went into running heavy equipment and ended up in the construction field digging foundations, putting in septic tanks, and I'm not one of those guys that can just sit there, so when the trucks weren't coming, I'd jump down and start hammering nails and doing whatever it took to learn the industry. So I did pretty much most facets of construction. I was never a builder. Okay. But I did do all parts of it, pretty much.
Well, like you said, you got that exposure to real estate, got the exposure to the transactions, how the building process starts. I mean, without a foundation, you can't build the rest of the project, right? Yep. It's truly the start of something. Yes. And now you help people find their own new project or home or business, right? Real estate's quite diverse in terms of clientele, I imagine, and what they're purchasing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all over the place. You got people that are looking to just buy land, just to have land, or maybe they want to put an orchard, or they want to put some sort of farming or agricultural type stuff. Most often anymore right now, we're trying to find land to build homes. A lot of people can't find what they're looking for, so on a constant search to find, well, in this area, a flat piece of ground that you don't have to spend a ton of money to put a home in.
Yeah. And obviously that then leads into housing and availability, which I think could be a whole nother episode, but on here on GWATA TV. Yeah. But let's take it back to Augustedge. So, you help people find their next project. You're a real estate broker there. Mm-hmm. But Augustedge is so much more than just real estate. In fact, you're quite diverse. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, it's we call it a trifecta in the sense that it's three businesses in one house, so to speak. Augustedge is an accounting firm to start with, and through the accounting firm, being asked many questions by many different clients about real estate and investing, whether they should or shouldn't, and that's not really our forte, but what they started asking quite a bit was, we want to do this, can you help us find it? Well, it wasn't our forte either, but through the constant questions about real estate, we decided to go ahead and get the licensing and try to serve our clients a little bit better in that search. And also at the same time, insurance came into play because people come in and we're paying bills for them and that kind of thing. And insurance for everyone is an issue. I mean, honestly, nobody wants to pay it, but you sure do like it when it's there. So we got the constant question is, why are we paying so much for this? And can you help us shop to find it cheaper? Well, yeah, we can, but then that ended up, what happened was, as we started shopping for people, we had contacts already in the industry, and they said, why don't you just get licensed and do this, and then you can truly shop, and you can get the best rates for your clients. And that's what we did. So we're trifecta, insurance, and accounting being the head, and then real estate is added on.
And we talked offline about, your firm started in 1997, been around over 20 years in North Central Washington, and it's just, the last 5 years that you've gone into this trifecta mode with more services.
Correct. It's been, the insurance has been around a little bit more than that, but it's been a progression towards this, yes, for at least 5 years, yeah.
And that's so different in terms of a traditional operation where you have an accountant and you have your insurance provider and you have your real estate agent all working in different agencies. Mm-hmm. For entrepreneurs that you're working with, why do your services help them in their business? What have you found?
Well, what we found is those people coming in and asking those very questions, can we save money here, and is it a good idea for us to utilize our finances to purchase the real estate, or we're going to, can you help us find it? Through that, the whole thing kind of comes together as a whole. It's all about serving the people that come through the door. And that is what we have based the company on the whole time. And just to clarify, we were a different company in 1997. We rebranded in 2012 to be Augustedge.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, but that years of experience and obviously into what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that you're trying to make it almost this kind of one-stop place. Entrepreneurs are so busy. So to manage and balance accounting, real estate, and insurance, that's usually 3 separate meetings, 3 separate management modes. Mm-hmm. So kind of streamlining that together at Augustedge. Sure. And now you have multiple locations as well. So
yeah, we do.
Where are your offices? We
have offices in the Tri-Cities. We have offices in Quincy. We just purchased an accounting firm up there recently, and we have an office in Chelan. We have one here in Wenatchee, of course.
And before we head out, Lane, to commercial, what do you tell your clients that you work with? Any advice that you have for them as they're heading out to maybe look into real estate specifically? We'll go into real estate specifically. What advice do you have for people when they're starting to look for their next property or investment?
I would say the biggest thing is to pick an agent, to truly choose an agent that you want to work with, and stick to that person. You're not tied to any agent out there, but if you're not happy with the service that's being provided, then it is okay to go to another agent. You just need to let the other person know. In our industry, it seems like there's a lot of people that look and they'll go to every site in the entire area and talk to every single real estate agent. And at the end of the day, you think you're working for a client and you're not. You've got multiple people. So it kind of just, the best thing I could say is get an agent that you like and choose to work with them, because we're keeping our eye on the market, especially at Augustedge, the way we do things is we are in a constant communication as a group to make sure that we have the most up-to-date pricing and listings that are out there, and we're constantly striving to give that information out instantaneously to our customers, because unfortunately we all know there's other companies, some bigger ones out there that are search sites for homes. They're not held to any sort of a standard, so you can look at a home and you think this is the one and it's been sold for 6 months. That's not a good feeling for a person trying to buy a home, and they look at a realtor as maybe they're the reason that happened. That's not the case. Us as realtors are truly on it, and we have to maintain a certain standard, not asked for by the big companies.
Right. It's a relationship business, and in a hot market like ours, where real estate can turn over very quickly, especially in single-family homes, it's important to have the latest information.
It is. Right now, that is imperative. If a home is priced right in our market currently, it will go in a single day of being on the market, and it will have multiple showings. The second that it goes live, as we call it, they'll have many, many showings if it's priced right in this market today. So you need to be working with somebody that's on top of it and not part-time on top of it.
Right.
So
find your person.
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Lane, thanks so much for coming on air with us. For our audience, I encourage you to check out Augustedge and all the professional services they provide. We've got to head out to a commercial break, but join us after a few minutes.
Thank you.
We're back on air on GWATA TV with our second guest from the day. We're kind of switching gears, and we're going to be talking about SGL Carbon. So welcome, Will Bown, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to sit down and talk further. We've had the opportunity to work together on some career-connected learning initiatives, which I know you're really passionate about. But let's start with SGL Carbon, very large company, and you've got a footprint in Moses Lake.
Yeah, so
what do you do? What is SGL Carbon?
So we make carbon fiber for a lot of different industries. We were originally a joint venture between a carbon fiber manufacturer and BMW. We supplied carbon fiber for their I series. So a lot of people know of us as the BMW plant.
Not a bad reputation
Not
to
a bad
have.
reputation,
Yes.
definitely not. We had the opportunity a couple years ago to become fully SGL and be able to get our products out on the open market and to get into some different avenues to sell our materials. So getting into the aerospace industry, the sustainable energy markets. Really, there's a lot of things that carbon fiber is used for. Those are just some of the things that we've worked on getting into further.
And your site in Moses Lake, you have sites worldwide. How long have you been in Moses Lake approximately?
Since 2011
Okay.
is when they officially opened up.
Okay. And when did you start with SGL?
2011.
Okay,
Yep.
So you've been there from the beginning.
Yep,
And
pretty
your
close.
team has grown quite a bit over the years. You have a great employee base, really rooted in Moses Lake and taking care of the community there. You have gotten involved with, speaking of local community, gotten involved with Career Connected Learning, and now kind of welcome students into SGL. So tell us, why did SGL want to get involved with supporting students and learning in your region?
First, we just felt like it was the right thing to do. We felt like we can do more for the community. We can help. We can develop. The future leaders of our community, of our nation, and we really wanted to provide an avenue for kids who might not be so sure as to the path that they want to go after high school, to let them know that there's a lot of opportunity in the Columbia Basin. So we started off doing the tours and inviting students and teachers into our place of work. And then we wanted to take it further. So we started with setting up this apprenticeship program and trying to set it up so we can develop some young people. There's great opportunities for them, and to be able to help them and mentor them to take on roles in the future for lots of different manufacturing sites. So we just kind of wanted to provide that avenue for them and to help them know which way they want to go in their future. So.
Well, in the Columbia Basin, there's a lot of manufacturers who've got, there's also a lot of food processors, and those are some of those skill sets are universal across those industries. And I understand you kind of have some work shortage as well. It's not always easy to recruit the employment base that you need in these trades. Yeah,
and that's kind of the route that it took. Once we realized there are so many good young people out there that can do this job, and there's so many positions out there that just go unfilled. Mechanic positions, electrician positions, even our entry-level operator positions, they go unfilled, and they're great paying jobs that you can provide for your family on. And so we kind of wanted to get that word out there that we can help provide those good living wages for people, and help them provide for their futures.
And so now it's been a couple years of doing this work. I think I saw online you just did another tour. Was it last week? Bringing 20 kids through your facility. Tell me what it's like for your team to work with the students and to bring them inside.
It's a lot of fun because it breaks up the monotony, and it provides the team with an opportunity to get excited about what they're doing again. Because they get these young people in who think, man, that's really cool, and then it just reinvigorates the team, and it's exciting to have other people excited about what you do.
So not only good for the community, but good for the morale of the organization. And you've had an apprentice that we've met, Chase, who's had a lot of success on your team. What's Chase's story with SGL?
So he loves working at SGL. He fits in with everyone. He gets along with everyone, and he's so smart. He has the mechanical aptitude that that you just wish for in an operator. He has a great drive. He wants to become a mechanical engineer. And we have opportunity at our place of work that will help pay for his schooling. And he wants to do that. He wants to continue to work for us and go to school at the local community college there and get his AA, and then transfer to start working on his mechanical engineering degree. And I'm so proud of him and the kind of person that he is, just because he has that drive and he has that excitement about what he's doing and the passion. It's really cool to see.
I love that story, and what I love about Chase's story as well is, there's been these two schools of thought of, it's either college all the way, and that was it, but it's really a myriad of options for students. College is great for a lot of them. Others, vocational school, a 2-year degree, and at SGL, you're kind of offering a blend of both.
Yeah.
For Chase, he can go on and utilize his experience and get that degree and continue to work at Moses Lake, which is something I know he's passionate about. He wants to be at home. But also for kids who maybe are not going on the college-bound path, they can find good family wage jobs.
Yeah. And I actually started off that way. I graduated from high school, and I just wasn't really ready for college. Thankfully, my dad worked at another chemical plant in Moses Lake, and I had kind of access to that industry through that. Through some connections I'd made. And, I provided for my family the whole way, just based off of having a high school degree and a drive to be successful. And now I'm going to school, while I'm, advancing in my career. And, it's definitely it's a way to do it. And a lot of these kids don't understand that anymore.
So if someone's watching today and they're, maybe an employer and interested in getting involved, what's your advice about employers getting involved with career-connected learning and kind of doing some of the initiatives? Because you've done the full gamut. Apprenticeship's a very intense program, and kudos to you guys for taking that on. But it doesn't have to be an apprenticeship, right? It can just be a tour.
Yeah, the tours are a great starting point because it just generates excitement. For the community, for the students. It helps get your name out there. it's really about just developing yourself as that employer that people want to work for, because you're doing the right things for the community. You're doing what's important to everyday people, and really that's just where it starts. And then the more you kind of fall in love with doing it and working with these young people, then you want to bring them in. You want to invite them in and do everything you can to help them.
Yeah, so it's kind of the gateway.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope into more connections with students and the career-connected learning, but in the best way possible.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Because you're doing it for the right reasons. You end up developing this, this love for having the students in and getting excited about what you do, and there's nothing wrong with that. And as you just develop those relationships, you want to do as much as you can to help them. And it makes you a stronger company too, because they bring in a lot of different ideas. One thing about Chase, one of the first times I met him, he was listening to one of the problems that we were having, and he was asked for a pencil and a piece of scratch paper, and he started drawing me up ideas. And I was so impressed by that. He just thinks outside the box, and it was good to get a fresh view of things, just from somebody who's never even worked in our facility. He was already coming up with these ideas, and he was so excited to be a part of something bigger.
So I love what you're saying, because it's not just about what do you give to the students, but there's also that, like you said, you're going to gain so much by the opportunity to hear new ideas, fresh ideas, reinvigorate your team. So it's very cool. Will, any other advice that you would give? You've been a huge advocate, or I guess, can people give you a call and ask you questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always willing to help. There's a community of facilities that are doing this now, and it's been a huge just blessing to the plants and to the students, and just letting them know that there's people out there that care about them, and their futures. So.
And that's so important, because even if they're not going to come work at SGL Carbon, you're supporting the greater community and making them well known that they've got options.
Definitely.
Yeah, so important.
Definitely.
Well, Will, thank you for your great work. It's time for us to head out to one final commercial break. Join us in just a minute. Well, it's time for us to wrap up this episode of GWATA TV. I want to thank you for tuning in and joining us here on the NCW Life channel. I also want to thank our guests from Augustedge and SGL Carbon for spending the time on our program today. If you've missed part of today's episode or any of our past episodes, you can check us out online, both on the NCW Life channel or on our nonprofit website, GWATA.org. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.